When a ride reaches the end of its useful life in its home park, sometimes they go on to live a long, prosperous life in a different park. Invested properly, loved by all, and become a perfect addition to the new home. And then sometimes they go to a pier to die. Welcome home, Wild Mouse. Hello you guys, welcome back to Planet Coaster 2, welcome back to Portside Pier. Thank you as always for coming along for the ride. We're building a pier, a British seaside pier in fact, and it's based around Weston-super-Mare, Brighton, Clacton, you know, the kind of funfair piers that we have here in the UK. It's coming together quite nicely, I really do like it. It's got that summer beach time vibe to it. This is what we did last week then. It's a not ghost train themed around the Wild West cowboy corral, and yeah, I like it. It's like, it's cute, it's the right size for the pier, it's just the wrong theme. But it's fine. A ghost train doesn't have to be around ghosts, right? So this is what we've got this week then, and you will be absolutely forgiven for recognising this coaster. It's the Wild Mouse from Fustastica. We will come into why it's been removed from Fustastica when we do the episode in Fustastica, because I kind of want the series to interlink and whatever, but you'll see that actually some work has happened to this. I fixed some of the flaws that you guys were pointing out. Some were deliberate and some were accidental. So as you can now see, the track is full on 90 degrees. There's no kink. I can't remember which one it was kinking in, whether it was this one or this one. But anyway, there was a kink, and it meant it wasn't actually 90 degrees anymore. So I fixed that. I fixed the speed, so I have changed the actual what do they call it, the descent angle of these. It's now consistent. I didn't realize it wasn't consistent. I thought it was, but it really wasn't. So I fixed that, and then I've also just fixed this little kink that I had here. I put the kink in deliberately, but yeah, it just doesn't work. Now the scale of Planet Coaster means that this is a little bit more elongated than it should be, right? So the counterpart, i.e. Chessington Rattlesnake at Chessington, the curves are a lot tighter, which means that the coaster isn't as squished. Now, the reason that I'm telling you that is because this creates a kind of problem in Planet Coaster because we're dealing with its scale, right? Originally this had 2 stations, and that's to aid loading, by the way. So you've got loading and unloading happening at the same time, as opposed to the sequences you're seeing it now where it has to unload and then load. But it caused a problem here when I've got an issue with space. So what I did, I've actually just removed the station, and I've put the queue down this way, and the exit's going to come down this way. No, the other way around, sorry. Exit down this way, and then the queue's going to come down this way. I kind of sat on Brighton Pier trying to work out what the solution to it was, and I went to the Wild Mouse, and I was like, actually the Wild Mouse has got this really narrow exit that goes past all of the maintenance areas and trampolines and stuff. It's proper squeezed in, so that kind of gave me permission to do that. Anyway, the plan of this one, generic, needs custom supporting, absolutely needs custom supporting. I think I'm going to do that before I then carry on talking about everything else. So let me go and do those custom supports. I will see you in a minute. Alright, so let's pause everything for a minute. Let's talk about the structure and of course the colour of the coaster. It's now green and red. So this is what I'm thinking. This is the heaviest part of the coaster. This is the bit that's going to need the most supports. I am taking inspiration from the real life counterparts, by the way, but I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of making it completely ultra realistic because it's just a pier and it's just a mini series, guys. Let's not take this too seriously. However, what I have got is a bit of a hefty structure here. I'm using cross bracing to distribute all of the weight and the forces and stuff down through the structure. This bit looks a little bit flimsy. You're quite right. I've left that deliberately. So these are just girders. The actual girder itself is the one that comes with the Western pack. It's not redesigned. It's not resized or anything. It's as it is. This one is 45 degrees though. It's the normal coaster support, and I think we're going to need some kind of diagonal bracing. I just need to check what the counterpart does actually. You know, when I say counterpart, I mean like real life examples. You know, Rattlesnake and the other Marathon Wild Mouse coasters. I don't think that's right. But that's the idea that we're going for anyway, and it's just going to have this this bracing. And I know, by the way, that the other ones, so elsewhere in the track or in the course where it's not so needed, you can just have these single ones down here, and then you just have your cross bracing and stuff that comes through and supports the actual track and supports the coaster itself, and that's fine, right? Because these coasters aren't that heavy. We're not talking like the Eurofighter. That's got some weight to it, and this doesn't pull that many forces because it doesn't travel that fast. So, you know, they stand up to reason. They stand up to you know, scrutiny. So then we need to support the track underneath. Now what I've done at the top here is I've actually just started to prepare where I want those cross braces and cross beams to actually be. So if I bring this down to track level here, I can continue that along here and then continue all the cross bracing and stuff, and then do the same with this one right here, and then that's going to be all the cross bracing. Now that creates the first part of your track. Then the next bit I need to do is then just copy all of these down through the actual course itself, and then find a way of making everything consistent, right? So this one here would probably need to copy all the way across the coaster, because this would then become a central force distribution support for the entirety of the coaster. And I haven't actually practiced this, by the way. This is not rehearsed, and I'm hoping this is going to line up kind of perfectly. Okay, so it just needs a little bit of tweaking, but ultimately that whole support structure there would then support all of this weight, and you'd have your central braces going through here. And then when you get to these corners, what you then do is you have yourself your central brace here, like so. So you'd have one there, with a central column here that then braces the actual track this way. So diagonally out this way. This is really rough, by the way. Of course, I need to fix this up. But you then, you get the idea, right? So that bit would then connect to this piece of track, and then that supports that actual curve there. And that transfers all of the forces down to this support here. So that's what I'm thinking. I think I need to make all of that make sense, right? Because it's a lot of talking about lots of theory. So actually go and do it. I'll see you in a minute. Do you know what? Custom supporting normal coasters is bad enough. Then you have to do something like this. It just takes the mick. It really does. But do you know what? It's absolutely worth it. I'm here for it. And I'm going to say $2.20 is a bloody legend, because he has a principle that says if it looks good from afar, then you're good to go. And I think this looks good from afar. This pier is actually coming together and starting to feel like it should as a pier. Of course, next week we're going to put all of the missing rides and stuff in and finish the entire pier off and be done with it. Hopefully by then, I think update 6 should have dropped, so there'll probably be some fun stuff that we can do with that as well. I don't know what the timelines of these episodes are going to be, because I'm filming these in advance, right, in like one sitting, so I don't know when these are going to come out. Anyway, whatever. Here's what we've got so far. It's a wild mouse. The colour is red and green, and it's very red and green, and I'm okay with that, right? So the support mechanism is actually now all right angles, and this is where I actually do appreciate what Frontier did with the wooden wild mouse structures, right? Because they were all grid based, and that made it so much easier to do wooden wild mouses, whatever, coasters, right? And I've decided not to do that because, yeah, you know, screw making it easy for myself. So these are all pieces that are on the normal, on the off-grid, but snapped to 90 degrees, right? But what that did mean is that I needed to do a little bit of extra work on the coaster, because as it turns out, it wasn't directly at 90 degrees. And I don't really know where it went wrong, because I use angle snap, so I have got no idea how this didn't line up to 90 degrees and this didn't line up to 90 degrees, but it does now. Look, as you can see, it's all it's all as it should be. I mean, it's still not perfect, and I don't know if it's the camera angle or what, but anyway, it's good enough for now. But each of the actual supports itself, they're all connecting to each other. I've put cross braces where I think there would be cross braces. I mean, is it realistic? No. But does it do what it needs to do? Yeah, absolutely. So I think we can I think we can call it there. And I think we're okay with that. It needs a little bit of like decorating and stuff. It needs some clutter. It feels a bit empty. And I think this is where John T is right over on Geekism. In the most recent episode of his series, he says that sometimes with Planet Coaster you have to over decorate something for it to feel right. So even though you might replicate from real life and it's correct in real life, it doesn't feel right in game, and I think he's absolutely spot on. So I think this is what I'm feeling here, because the reason I say that is I did this station, right, and I started to put all of this like decorating work stuff down here, and it wasn't until weirdly I put these little bits in, you know, to stop people from walking into the barrier, that it actually started to make sense. Now, we are just going to ignore the fact that we've got air gates and stuff here, because a coaster like this in real life wouldn't have air gates, and this would be absolutely fine. So I'm just going to ignore the fact that the guests are going to clip through, because sometimes you just have to squint. But yeah, so it wasn't until these went in, and then I put this trim along what I think would be the station, so where they've made the station roof out of the actual support structure, that it actually started to come together. And I was like, but the Brighton Wild Mouse one doesn't have this level of detail and this level of care. It's just a really blank slate of stuff. So yeah, I think Jont is right. I am fully supportive of everything that he says. So I have put some fencing and stuff in here. I've mixed up the fencing styles. Actually, I need to recolour that. So I've mixed up the fencing styles. They are the resort fence, but in order for me to be able to get the ramp, I've had to use the pillar rather than the fence itself. But I mean, it looks alright. Again, $2.20 from afar. It looks absolutely fine. So there's obviously one thing I need to do here. I think you know what is coming. So I need to do the invisible path bit of this, right? And I do this every single time. Where's my paint? There we go. I do this every single time, and I always regret it once I've finished filming, because I end up doing stupid stuff like that. However, there is a reason that I'm doing it like this at this time, because as you can see, this is an actual building. So down underneath here, it's not going to let me click it. Why is it not letting me click it? Anyway, underneath here, there is an actual building. I think it's because it's a path, right? There we go. An actual building that contains all of the wood pieces for elements of the bits of path that get removed, right? So I don't know if you've been noticing it as I've been going along. The stations, when you place them down, they get rid of the path underneath it. And that's only because it's, you know, the hitboxes and stuff, and that's how the game is designed. But it also means that you then have a complete gap that goes down into the water. Fine. So what I've done is I've just put a modular wood floor building underneath the pier and lined it up to the slats, so you don't actually notice that it's not there. So hence the reason why that bit's like that, right? So that's why I've done that during this recording anyway, to show you that that's the kind of trickery that I'm doing. And then of course this needs actual wood. I'll fix that as we go along. It's all fine. So station wise then, I need to just work out some clutter in here. It needs a little bit of messing up. It's too tidy, and I'm not digging it, right? So it needs the clutter. But then there's the maintenance area there. This is exactly as it would have been in Fantastica. I'm okay with that, and the access points and stuff are all fine as well. I have also just added in these ladders because these would be like access points. I think I need to put some more in, but they're like the access points to the brake runs. Now in Fantastica I had catwalks on the brake runs, but as it turns out, the wild mice that you find on the pit, is it mice, mouses, or no, it wouldn't be mouses, would it? Mice, mouse, or mouses? I don't know. Anyway, on the wild mouse, on a wild mouse coaster that you would find on a pier, you wouldn't find catwalks necessarily. You just have these ladders that go up. They're not very safe, you know. No, they must be safe, right? They're compliant, is what I'll say, but they don't feel very safe, do they? So anyway, exterior fencing all around here. So I've just coloured it again, red and green to match with everything else. And I've started to put some of the exterior lighting in, you know, like the flood lighting and whatever, just to give this a little bit of life. And then the tiny eye down here, it's living quite nicely down here as a tiny eye. So I think I can go ahead. Is it that path texture? Yeah, it's that path texture. I can go ahead and change the path texture on that one, and I can get rid of the curbs and stuff. There we go. So that's now going to sit quite nicely in that space where I can now clutter it up as you do. But again, that feels like it's sitting there right as it should be. So I'm happy with that. So the other bit as well that I want to do is this little area back here. I have put in some barriers and stuff along this side, right, to drag guests down. And what I'm thinking is, in this space here, it needs a shop, right? And because piers and stuff would probably just utilise and copy and paste stuff, you know, like they would be sheds that you would buy from like garden places or whatever. I don't want to say a garden shed necessarily, but you know, the Christmas market sheds that you have, you just buy a ton of those and then you just decorate them. So what I'm thinking is maybe something like that needs to go in here. I can then get rid of maybe these two barriers here. like that, so that you'll then having to come down this way. Now I don't know if I'm going to keep those as food units or gift units, but the fact that I've now put this barrier in here means I've got this space that I can then put some vending machines or games machines or something. And again, it's about utilizing and monetizing the little bit of space that you've actually got in that area, just to make it make sense more than anything else, because otherwise it's a bit of a big area. So yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. This is how it's looking from the top so far. I better go and finish it, and let's see how it turns out, shall we? See you in a minute. So, the changes are subtle enough to not be noticed, but obvious enough to be noticed. Like, detailing has actually brought this to life, and I love it, right? Don Fennell Stamp is coming out because I need the update to drop. I need the Corollas. I've got 2 rides I want to put in here, one of which is the Corollas that's coming in update 6, but I don't know what order they need to be in because I don't know how big the pad for the Corollas is going to be. So, I can't do that bit just yet because there's no point. However, the Crazy Mouse is ready. As you can see, it's open. These guys are keen to go on it. Let's do it. There you go. I, by the way, don't know if the queue strategy here is actually going to work, because underneath this fence here is actually the no entry fences. Stop guests going into the ride area. Last time I did this, I think it's going to work. Yes, perfect. Last time I did this on this guy, it actually stopped the queue for the Eurofighter working because the fence was just into the queue and it stopped it. However, that's working. I'm happy. Good to know. Right, so yes, detailing. You can see already the cars have changed colour. They were going to be white. I liked them white, but actually I just randomly coloured them yellow just to see what it was like. And actually that was the back off the doing the sign here, right? And I think I prefer it yellow. So there you go. We went for yellow. So detailing on the outside here. We've got a little bit of strip lighting. We've got all the signs. We've got the benches and stuff. As I said, it feels a little bit weird because there's going to be a ride here. So at the moment it feels like it's all a little bit open and it's not as claustrophobic as it should be, but it will be once these rides come in. That's next week's episode. I don't know why they're just stood there. We're just gonna move past. Oh, I haven't opened Tiny Eye. Quick, let's do that. And this is one of the rides, by the way, that doesn't need a queue or doesn't have a queue. I'm happy with them just gathering outside the front here, just like they do the Helter Skelter over here. So happy with that. That's all good. Just put in some vending machines and some grabber machines, you know, monetizing the areas and stuff, making it a thing in this area. And then I have just put in some picnic benches here just to clutter the area out. There's not really much else I can put in that space. I do want to clutter it, but I don't really want to go too all out with it. So there you go. I'm happy with that. Inside the actual ride area, then the Crazy Mouse, I just put a couple of signs up, tidied up some of the fences, not fences, sorry, tidied up some of the ladders, and I also I was feeling that something wasn't right. Something wasn't sitting comfortably. So I just did some research with the Crazy Mouse at Brighton and then a couple of the other ones, and I noticed actually that we didn't have any diagonal braces, you know, like these ones here, the X braces, the cross bracing. So I've just put a couple in. I don't know whether they would work. I don't care. They're just there. They look alright. They look good. Happy days. Fencing along this side just to fence off the ride area. Not completely. You probably wouldn't have anybody in this area anyway, working whilst the ride is operating. So I have just put some fencing up though, just in case. And a shed. It definitely needed some kind of maintenance shed. It's nice and simple. It doesn't need to be any more than this. In fact, it's copied across from the log flume. I'm alright with that, you know. It's what it is. Fine, happy days. But I did realise when I put this in that I needed an extra support here. So I've just put that in and we are now good to go. These guys are loving it. Look, yay! And in terms of the ride area, I put the catwalks back. I did some more research. The main inspiration image I was using didn't have catwalks, hence the reason why I was like, no, don't have catwalks. But actually, I prefer them with catwalks. It gives a little bit more, I don't know, clutter to the upper end, right? It gives a bit of noise in this area, so I put them back in. And actually, unlike Fantastica, I made the catwalks longer, so I've made them 8 meters rather than 4 meters, and it feels better. Just a little bit of lighting and emergency lighting and stuff, just to make it come to life, and then you're all happy. Along here, I've just put some decorative stuff up. I've made sure, by the way, that all the flags are pointing in the same direction. We've said this before, right? And this is something I've always failed to do in terms of the realism aspect. The wind would be blowing in one direction, so the flags would all be blowing in the same direction. So that's what I've done. I've made sure that these flags are blowing in the same direction as the ones on the front, right? So it's now, you know, subtly feeling okay. It feels okay on a subtle level, but yeah, it's all cool. Inside here, I have also just tidied up some of the supports. Some of them just weren't quite right. So that's now all done. And then the station itself, this is the level of clutter that I was going for. Like, it now feels right. So the maintenance area has got some stuff in it, and I'm happy with that. And then in here, we've just got the extra bits. You know, I've tidied up some of the tread plating, put a couple of electric cabinets and stuff down, put a couple of extra fences, a baggage bin. These guys, oh God, we're here again, aren't we? Fine, I'll fix that off camera. That's no problem. I know what's wrong with it, so it's fine. I know how to fix it. Yeah, and then I just put the fairy light. I call it fairy lighting because that's what I know it as, right? So I just put the fairy lighting and stuff along here, and then we've got the corrugated roof just as the station roof, and I like it, right? I'm all right. Then elsewhere, I've just put some extra bits, you know, like electric cabinets and all of that sort of stuff in here. Again, the maintenance clutter. And then that becomes the station. Fluorescent lighting for the win here, by the way. Yes, it wouldn't have any fancy lighting. It would be fluorescent lighting. And I've also done the same in the maintenance area as well. Just 2 strip lights that would just light the area in case it was dark. Happy days. Call it done. I've also put in a little bit of a trim along the station just to tidy it up slightly. And then down here, this is what I did with this space. So we've got the So Delightful and the Gelato Bros living here. I decided to keep it the same, by the way. I didn't want to change it. I actually just, I liked how they were decorated originally, so fine, happy days, just copy and paste. That's exactly what they would do anyway, so it's all good. And then just a couple of grabber machines just to monetize the area, just that little bit more, because they can. So yeah, there you go. Tidied up the entrance signage here, put a couple of posters and stuff up because it just needed some clutter. It needed visual noise, that's what it needed. So yeah, then I've just put the entrance and the exit only signs there. Tidied up the exit only sign, that was in the last update. I've just changed it ever so slightly. And again, just some tweaks along here. It just needed a little bit of like tidying, and now it's all happy days. Then there's the ride sign, and then just a couple of bits of like picnic benches and stuff outside here. These signs, by the way, they're massive, right? And that's exactly how they would be in real life. That's how they are in real life, like especially when you've got the one that's right down there. It's like basically going, come down here, please. But then you've got the exit only sign that confuses guests. And that's exactly, by the way, how the Brighton one is. So it works absolutely perfectly. So there you go. That's how it's living from the top. It's starting to come together as a pier. Like if you actually look at it like this, where you don't see the clipping and stuff of the terrain. So if you look at it at sort of this angle, it's a pier, right? It's turning into a pier. So next week, what we need to do is the final rides. There's going to be no coasters, nothing like that. It's going to be the final like flat rides. You've seen the palette of stuff over here, right? This is what I'm going for. So fine, I'm all right. So they're going to go in here. I don't know if they're going to be in the same order, especially as the Corrales is now coming. So yeah, going to just sort that out. Let's go for a ride. Have yourselves a good week. I will see you next week. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.